How's everyone's SuperMeet going? Yeah, all right, all right. So, my name's Brad Olsen. I directed, edited, shot a documentary about Final Cut Pro 10, and it was a huge labor of love, and it was awesome. So, it was a great experience. I got to meet some cool people. But rather than just talk to you about it, how about we watch the trailer? So, if we can switch over. Anyone backstage? Switching over. All right.
I was at the SuperMeet at NAB 2011 when Apple announced Final Cut Pro 10.
Everybody was really excited about it.
They'd completely re-engineered Final Cut from the ground up.
We saw some cool things. We saw some things that we didn't understand.
When they did the demo of dragging out an audio clip and it knocking another audio clip out the way, I was like, wow.
It's got a magnetic timeline, and people are still cheering, and I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing?
I can remember especially when they announced the price. Some people were thrilled about the new price, and other people were horrified by it.
I remember seeing the video, and I was like, this is the future. And then I opened it up, and I realized the future was not quite here yet.
It was an exciting time because everybody wanted to understand how this new thing worked. And there was obviously also a lot of blowback.
The main arguments that I heard a lot of people talking about was frustration about the lack of support for Legacy.
Apple didn't help themselves by saying, we're doing a hard cut from Final Cut 7 to Final Cut 10, and they probably should have done it as all.
I know there were some people that shifted off to other platforms, but I also saw a lot of people seeing the potential.
I think it was Randy and the team over there was saying, this is a new way of looking at things.
When you look at it to start off with, you think, why have they abandoned tracks?
This is not a product for today's average editor.
The world is moving away from videotape and moving entirely into a digital environment.
It's the democratization of video, what Apple did with desktop publishing, they're trying to do with video.
If you're a creative person and you want to tell a story, you have everything it takes to tell a story.
All right. Sorry it cut out for just a second there. Here we go. So I got some behind-the-scenes slides here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why did I go and make this movie. Well, first of all, I think you saw at the beginning of that trailer, we've got the 2011 SuperMeet. So 7 years ago, Final Cut was unveiled for the first time here. And how many people actually in the audience were there? Was anybody actually? Wow, there's quite a lot of people who were there. I think that event affected, I think it's safe to say everybody in this room was affected by that. I certainly was, and whether or not you stuck with Apple's platform or you moved on to another platform, or you're like me and you use Final Cut, whether it was a good experience or a bad experience, it definitely changed things. And I was one of the crazy people that decided that I wanted to use Final Cut Pro 10, and I actually started using it seriously in 2012. But the period between 2012 and 2016, I edited 6 independent feature films shot on Red and ARRI using Final Cut Pro 10. At the same time, I was doing other jobs, media management jobs, DIT jobs, and I was around people coming out from LA and talking to people in my local film community and talking to people from LA. There was a lot of opinions about Final Cut, and some of it was misinformation. I heard things like it's not capable of working on feature films, which I'm like, well, I'm making feature films with that software, so I don't understand how that's true. And there was misinformation that people were telling me that Apple had abandoned Final Cut entirely and we're not making it anymore. And that drove some sort of something in me. It drove some passion in me. And I started getting more actively involved in the Final Cut community. I met Sam Messman, who runs LumaForge, and he's kind of a hub of the Final Cut community, and he knew all of these key players. People were using it in different environments and scenarios, and I just got this idea that there's this incredible community that has come around to support this software. Let's tell the story from their perspective. And it took 3 months of convincing Sam that I was serious about telling this story. And finally, he relented and said, you know what, why don't you come to FMC's Creative Summit and show up and interview people there. So that's exactly what I did. I packed my bags, I packed my gear, I went to the Creative Summit, I interviewed a lot of key people there. I followed that up with some key interviews in LA with people like Glenn Ficarra, who directed Focus and Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and Michael Cioni, who runs Light Iron. And those were all amazing experiences. And I think the moment where the movie really took on a new level was when I was introduced to Randy Ubilos. Randy Ubilos actually developed in the 90s Adobe Premiere, and then went on and was hired by Apple and created Final Cut Pro Classic. And he created Aperture and iMovie, and then Final Cut Pro 10. In 2015, he retired, so he was actually available to do an interview. And when I had that amazing opportunity, I knew that I had something bigger. And I actually kind of took that, released a trailer last year, ran a Kickstarter. I'd shot everything myself. I knew I could edit it, so I just was like, well, let's see if we can get $10,000. And after launching the Kickstarter, within 24 hours, I got that $10,000. Within 1 week, I got $20,000. And by the end of the campaign, I got over $26,000 to go out and finish my movie. And I'm proud to say that I was actually able to finish the film and release it to the Kickstarter backers. And now, yeah, thanks. And now we're actually able to premiere, we're using the term official debut of Off the Tracks is going to the official debut of Off the Tracks will actually be in Los Angeles on June 27th. And I think the takeaway here, what I hope that you get from my story, is I started with very little resources and just a lot of passion and a desire to be creative. And I'm hoping for those of you out there that have your own stories that you realize that, hey, the tools are there, and there's really nothing stopping you from doing it. So I just want to say, go out there, find your story. We need stories. We need to hear from more people. And I know that means that we're going to get a lot more noise. But the difference, I think, between now and, say, 20 years ago is even though there were tools then, it's so much more accessible. It's so much easier to get in. And it's so much easier to get a high-quality result. And I think that's why I'm such a big fan of tools like Final Cut Pro, because they embrace this idea of, let's get the tool out of the way and let people be creative and create. And that's what I've found in the tool. And that's why I really enjoy using it. So, yeah, go out there, find your story, share it with us, and share it with me. I want to see it. Thank you.